There we go. Yes, I still have the flu big time. This is a very fine point, but an important one, of a translation from ancient Pali regarding two terms, but specifically focused on one term. I was asked by a group of people to go over this and explain it accurately. Certain terms in ancient Pali are used by nefarious entities, specifically sectarian or religious entities. In this case, Buddhism. Of course, the term Buddhism didn't even exist until the 16th century. These two terms, the SASSATAVADA and Lucitavada, they're both antinomies to one another, kind of like light and shadow. However, shadow is not an antinomy of light, rather the absence of light, so that isn't the best analogy. SASSATAVADA is unfortunately translated as eternalism, but it doesn't mean that at all. The one thing that typifies most so-called Buddhists, and by Buddhist I mean B-I-N-O, Buddhist in name only, is that they're soul-denying atomists, and that's not the case in the ancient Pali texts. SASSATAVADA doesn't mean eternalism. I'd like to go over that and expound on some points. But it's one of the same things that is taught against and railed against both in the Upanishads, by Advaita Vedanta and the Upadesasahasra and the Vivachudamuni. And SASSATAVADA, in simple, is karmayana. Yeah? Sat is literally sat being being, vada, the doctrine of. Sassat actually is an ancient reference to a hopping rabbit or something that springs. This is no different than talking about samsara. Samsara literally means to go round and round and round and round. In other words, by perpetualism, which people, it's not a word generally ever used in English, however it is in metaphysics just for sake of communication, is the notion that you're on the Ferris wheel or the roller coaster. Got my face cut a little bit there, if you wonder what that was. And there's no way off. Yeah? It's just the endless round of life and death, birth, life, and death. The only thing you do is you can make for better this life or better next life. And SASSATAVADA, undeniably so in ancient Pali, is called a heresy, and so is Uchitavada. The notion of, and Uchitavada is accurately translated by these people as nihilism. However, they use certain words, once again, like anatta and SASSATAVADA, to, besmack people around the head, as so to say, by anybody that has a clear thinking mind. Say, hey, original Buddhism actually never did deny the soul. In fact, the only refuge, the light, the charioteer, all these positive appellations are, of course, regarding the soul. As I mentioned before, there's three different aspects of the soul. There's only one soul, obviously so. But we could say something is illuminated, like white light through a red filter. You would see beautiful red light. But that red light, while it is ensouled, as an example of one aspect of soul, has a beginning in time and end in time and is consubstantial. It is not the transcendent soul. Same is true here, so I'd like to go over this no-soul nihilism idea of perpetualism, or SASSATAVADA. By the way, the only compound term for no soul is natata, which literally means there is not a soul, and that, of course, is heresy. Samyutta Nikaya 2.17, non-being, asat, nati, views of either sabam nati, or the all, or ultimately is not. This is nothing other than an expounding of asti nasti. Asti nasti means there is not. As you're sitting there debating about whether something is or is not, rather than getting to the heart of the matter, which is when this is present, that is present. When primordial ignorance is present, then that is present. But SASSATAVADA in absolutely no way refers to eternalism. It's the notion, once again, that you're on the roller coaster of life. There's no way off. You can do deeds for better this life or next life. It is no different than saying kamayana. Kamayana would be the path of agencyship. In other words, that you are the doer and the agent in and of samsara, i.e. that you're the puppet. SASSATAVADA is no different than saying, you're the puppet within the play of life. You go from one puppet to the next, but you're always the puppet. The only thing you do is do actions and deeds. One is not an agent or karman. Karma, Kama in ancient Pali, same word, or that you're an agent. An agent, of course, is one that does things. You're going to prepare, make way for things. Good deeds. Good deeds are noble and true, but they are not connected to wisdom and transcendence. So this idea of heresy, SASSATAVADA, or perpetualism, no way out. This is samsara endlessly, forever and ever and ever and ever. And that is a heresy, but that's also, too, a heresy in the Upanishads. It's a heresy in Advaita Vedanta, the Upadisahasya, the Chudamani, the commentary by Sri Sankaracharya of the Principal Upanishads as well. So this idea that this term means perpetualism is one of the famous, it's actually the second. Actually, there's three things that are mistranslated perpetually. So the idea of anatta, and I'm the world's foremost expert on the term anatta, which is always said, and you can find it on a million websites, more than a million websites, and all these commentarial books written by Buddhist teachers. My teacher said Buddhism denies the soul. Buddhism is unique, that it taught anatman, no soul. There's no such passage. There's 23 compounds of the term anatta. It is never used in a pejorative sense. It is common Indian, ancient Indian, via negativa, not this, not that. That is not the soul. That is not the soul. 70 Nikaya 3.196, SASSATAVADA seated himself, said, Blessed One, anatta, anatta, I hear, said Venerable. What, pray tell, does anatta mean? Just this, Radha. Rupa anatta, Veda anatta, Sana anatta, Sankara anatta, Vijnana anatta te. English translation, please, right? Nobody knows ancient Pali, obviously. Form is not the soul. Feelings, perceptions, impulses, and existential consciousness. There's no standalone term of anatta. It is only used in reference to objective things, which are, of course, not the soul. This is subjective synthesis through objective negation. Anybody with a half a brain understands this. The only problem is that religions are full of people. Unfortunately, they have a lot less, a whole lot less, than a half a brain. Sometimes not even a few brain cells to rub together. So this is what the term SASSATAVADA means. That's not my opinion or a feeling or a belief. That is how it doctrinally presents, and that, of course, is necessitatively what it is. It's not unique to Buddhism. I mean, it's just completely ludicrous. Once again, this term Buddhism is a relatively modern invention. When asked what his teachings were, Gautama said that he taught Brahmayana, or path to the absolute, which is accurate. It's no different than, it's just Indian monism, by the way, i.e. Ancient Greek emanationism, or Pythagoreanism, Neoplatism. They're all one and the same thing. Nothing is known except through the modality of the knower. The three primary things that are used to, besmack people over the head to try to deny the soul by these, well, should I say religious zealots? And the answer is yes, I should say that. Is this term Sabhidhamma anatta, which is not used as a standalone. Actually, Sabhidharma refers to the five khandhas, the psychophysics. When these people actually translate, Sabhidhamma anatta says, all dharmas are without a soul. Dharmas are in reference to prakriti, or the demiurge. The demiurge is not the transcendent. We're talking about this extrinsic attribute here. But these people don't get this, and this has been covered up long time ago, actually, when the Starviras, who became the Sarvastivadins, which literally means, this is all there is, ism. Sarvastivada. Literally, that's what that means, Sarvastivada. This is all there is, ism. Later, they became known as the Theravadins. Those are all the yellow-robed guys running around Laos, Burma, Ceylon, Sri Lanka, Thailand, so on and so forth. Now, most of those people in Southeast Asia, the bald head and the saffron robes, that Thai forest tradition, they are Theravadins. 99% of them, here's a cool fact that you'll never read about anywhere. There might be some places. 99% of those people, of course, serve as monastics for X number of years. None of them are soul-denying nihilists. But all the people, like if you were to stay a monastic and get higher up in the hierarchy, it's like, it's kind of like if you were to become a Mason. You have to be a 33rd degree Mason, and I have no connection to Masonry, to learn the inner secrets, the seclorum, the great secrets of the 33rd. And you learn, in the case of the Theravadins, well, there is no soul. And, this is incremental brainwashing. And this is just atomism, and I don't care what anybody believes. It's none of my business, but I was never interested in religious Buddhism. Dr. A.K. Kumaraswamy said it best when he said, Buddhism today is most famous for everything it originally never taught. Never, ever taught, in fact. So, Samita Nikaya 4.400, where Gautama asked if there was no soul. The term is natata. Nata plus atta, no soul, is there a soul? To which Gautama equated the position to a nihilistic heresy, Uchiravada, common throughout original Buddhist Nikaya and Sutta, which is pre-sectarian, by the way, and Vedanta paradigm. And the most common repeated passage regarding the phrase Nami Soata. This is not the soul. You can't say my soul because my implies possession. You know, this is my rock. I was like, well, one thing has another, but that's a fine metaphysical point that I necessarily don't need to make. Maybe I'll edit that out of this video. You don't want to confuse people with the finer points of objective, subjective metaphysics and emanationism and monism. But SASSATAVADA in all its occurrences, and I have a digital search engine for Romanized Ancient Pali, it only ever occurs as that, no different than the Upanishads and Advaita Vedanta. It is never implied in any context or any translation of eternalism. Because if you will talk to these highly uneducated but egomaniacal people that think they know something about the topic, and none of these people can read Pali. There's like, Pali is an ancient dead language. There's about that many people on earth that could read it. And they will tell you this, like, well, it talked about a soul as eternalism, and that's a heresy. Well, SASSATAVADA is a heresy in Sutta. But SASSATAVADA is literally, because once again, sassat means to hop. No different than samsara, yeah? No different than saying karmayana or perpetualism. The notion that you are an agent in and of samsara. But you're not, you know, that sock puppet that's controlled by ignorance, wills, and desires, fear, so on and so forth that you see in the mirror when you brush your teeth. That is not an agent to and of samsara. I mean, that's the fundamental foundation of primordial agnosis, which is meant to be cut, to be eliminated. So yes, SASSATAVADA is a heresy, but it also in no way, shape, or form is translated as eternalism. This is completely ridiculous. In contract, I wrote this article many years ago, affirmation that the Atman is equal to SASSATAVADA, conventionally deemed eternalism. However, in Pali, the term of SASSATAVADA is never associated with the Atman, but that the Atman was an agent in and of samsara, which is subjected to the whims, lokoka. You know, that the Atman and the world are one. You know, that you are forever locked in the roller coaster of samsara. Yee! And of course, you know, I mean, people have ridden a roller coaster a few times. Like, it's fun the first few times, and then you get sick, right? Obviously is the case. And this is also too Bhavayana, or Karmayana, this idea of merit and agencyship. So, by the way, SASSATAVADA in the Sutta is said to equal Ataka Solokoka, that the self and the world are one. See, that is a heresy. That is perpetualism. SASSATAVADA in Sutta, not my position, is Ataka Solokoka. The self and the world are one, conjoined, inseparable, one whole. And that is heresy. And that's what these people use to bludgeon other people proverbially over the head with. And say, well, you're preaching eternalism there, and that's a heresy. It's like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Translating ancient Pali now for 25 years, have been over all of these points that these people think that they haven't got a clue. They're thick as mud. They really are. What they believe or don't believe, I don't care. It's like, you know, you want to have a debate with me? Let's do it. You're going to lose. You're going to lose big time. And they always have lost. It's not my opinion that they lost. They always do lose. They end up throwing their hands up or they block you. But I'm making this video for a group of people that wanted me to talk about SASSATAVADA. And that's one of the several things. Anatta, they use that to besmack people. The term SASSATAVADA, Sabidama Anatta. Attavasrati, the soul is charioteer. Dignikaya 2.154, Attakaso Saranam Gatika is the soul that I go to as refuge. Attadipa Viharati, Attasrana Namasrana is ancient Pali, dead language for thousands of years. I know you don't know what I'm saying. Dwell with the soul as your light, Attadipa Viharati, Attasranam Ananam Saranam. Dwell with the soul as your refuge, with none other as refuge. I mean, this is completely ridiculous that these people espouse this and fundamentally, they really have this disorder, this intellectual disorder. They think, well, if Buddhism admits to the soul, which of course is the only refuge, it's called the light, the only refuge, the charioteer. I mean, it's blatantly obvious and 100% undeniable. They think, well, then Buddhism then becomes Hinduism. Well, Hinduism's not a religion, by the way. It's a reference to a people. There's no such, the Vedas, nor the Gita, or the Upanishads is the Kanaka. That's not my idea also. That's in many prestigious dictionaries. There's no such thing as a religion of Hinduism. That refers to a peoples, not a religion. Yeah. Same would be true analogous to like Judaism. You could be of that ethnicity but not practice that religion. You know, when someone says Judaism, you immediately think of the Old Testament and the religion thereof. But we're referring to a people. It's the exact same principle here regarding this idea of Hinduism. And all these Western... And by the way, where this came about, this nihilistic, spiritual nihilism came from, is that when Westerners were interested in esoteric religions, so on and so forth, back in the mid-1800s, they traveled to India. Who did they get to tell them what these things meant? Oh, well, those yellow-robed guys in Ceylon. Well, Ananda means there is no soul. It's like, oh, Buddhism is unique. Yeah, it is no soul in Buddha. That's completely ludicrous. It is doctrinally inaccurate. I know all occurrences of the Dharmanada. There is no person on this earth, literally, that knows more about that than I do. Not even one. And this idea of no soul ridiculousness is completely absent in pre-sectarian Nikayas, Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, Kudaka Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya. Anyway, that's the explanation of SASSATAVADA. I hope I kind of made that abundantly clear. I don't know if there's any other finer points to make, but I mean, you can't have liberation without a liberant. You can't have amata gami maga, gone to immortality. Amata, immortalis, gami, gone to maga, the path of immortality. Amata gami. I mean, what will you think would obtain immortality? You think like the absolute is some form of spiritual oblivionism? Like there's a cosmic toilet and you're going to flush yourself away in it. Now that's what these people think. And once again, I don't care what people think and believe, but it's ludicrous, it's insane, it's non-doctrinal. I always tell these people, I said, if you're going to have a debate on Buddhism, for example, we're going to debate what it teaches, not what it doesn't teach. Well, my teacher said, they'll always say something like, my teacher says, like, I don't care what your teacher says. I care what the original says. And this idea that SASSATAVADA means eternalism is completely ludicrous, it's unfounded, it's non-doctrinal, it's absolutely ridiculous. It is nothing other than karmayana. I'm in this world of samsara, the round of becoming, yeah. I got a wheel here representing samsara. I got it here somewhere. You've seen it before. It's all over. Someone gave it to me. They sent it to me. There it is. This represents samsara. I'm going to whip out my fake pipe here. There we go. There we go. Round and round and round and she goes. This is the heresy that there's only this outside. Yeah? That would be SASSATAVADA. The truth is that there's the way out of this is by eliminating primordial agnosis and making your way to the center. If this were more accurate, it'd have a little hole right in the center where you'd slip away and vanish from this existential universe. That would be the truth right here. The notion that you're, forever out here. That is heresy. Because that's what these people point out. SASSATAVADA is heresy. It's like, they're right, but you have no idea what SASSATAVADA means. And they don't. And they've never had a successful argument of debating them for decades on it. They always lose. 1,000% always lose. So there's the answer to, I hope this wasn't too dry of a philosophical point. I did not make this for everybody that watches my videos, so if it was too boring for you, it's like, man, that's some really dry philosophical stuff. I'm sorry for that. I did make it for a specific group of people. This is a fake pipe. Still sick with the flu, so if I seem slightly loopy, I apologize. This flu is horrible. Lux Veritas. Thank you so much. And happy holidays to you.